Now, the video evidence, now they said that that was him, right? That was him walking towards them. Like, he was walking straight, and then he slowly starts walking towards them. And that, to me, was already suspicious as hell. They will go with that they didn't do it the entire time, even knowing they did do it. John Wayne Gacy himself, Ted Bundy. I mean, I could just list off a bunch of people who will just say that they didn't do it, but clearly and obviously, yes, they were the ones who did it. It's bizarre. This is really bizarre, because if she said it's wrong, and this is apparently the person that they thought they saw on the bridge, if the sketch number 1 is wrong, does that give this man more leeway on being innocent? No, he doesn't look like Richard, does he? Okay, this is not a hat. This is brown curly hair, isn't it? I completely misread this whole case. Maniacs, welcome back to the channel. A lot of you guys have been asking me, ever since I started doing the Nicole Kessinger, Chris Watts case stuff, to check out another case. And I'm going to go ahead and check it out. Because of all the feedback and all of the really kind responses, a lot of you guys know that true crime is not necessarily something I enjoy listening to all the time, because mentally it just drains me. Hearing how people can murder people in such horrific ways, there's just so much to true crime that really does get under my skin. However, I know a lot of people just like to hear what I think. And I guess there is a small, I wouldn't even say passion, but there is a small interest in true crime for me, because I grew up with a mom who wanted to be in the forensic kind of stuff. She wanted to go and actually find these killers because she cannot stand them, just like me. We're going to go ahead and dive into this video. It's the DELPHI murders. A lot of you guys have been asking me to check this out. I mean, I seriously have been getting like comment after comment after comment on each of my videos to check out the DELPHI murders. I don't know much about this, so I decided to find a video, hopefully that will go into full detail what this is going to be. It's called DELPHI Murders Into the Investigation. Now, obviously, I'll leave the link to the original video in the description below, where you'll see original video. Click on it, go watch the original one, give it a lot of love, give it a lot of support. It's not easy putting these videos together. Just like a lot of you guys, I'm just going to sit down and watch it, and then pause it when I want to give you my thoughts. So hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content. We're almost to 30,000 subscribers. If you guys go down below, just hit that subscribe button. It would mean the absolute world to me. I am a reactor, so keep in mind that my content isn't really my original content. It's just me watching other people's content and just trying to give my thoughts on everything. If that's for you, if you're okay with that, if you feel like you're watching these videos with a friend, that is the main thing. But if you don't like this kind of content, trust me, I don't mind. I completely understand. So if you don't want to subscribe because of that reason alone, but you just want to sit around and check this video out because you want to hear my thoughts, I appreciate that too. So let's go ahead and dive into the video, guys. Here we go.
Teenagers Abby Williams and Libby German were best friends living in the small rural community of Delphi, Indiana, a town.
DELPHI murders. Gotcha. I'm sorry. I was saying Delphi. I didn't realize that it was actually a name of a town. In Philadelphia, he said? Very interesting. Okay, sorry. I don't mean to pause it. I just wanted to correct myself. DELPHI murders.
With just 3,000 residents. On February 13th, 2017, the girls had a day off from school, and the weather was very mild for winter. So they decided to go on an outdoor adventure. They were dropped off near the Monon High Bridge, a beautiful wooded area with a river and an old-fashioned planked bridge. While on that bridge, Libby recorded a man with her phone. That same man was also recorded by Libby uttering the words, "Down the hill."
Okay, so that's unsettling. Now, I'm not sure. I'm just gonna, do they find the phone and find this video evidence of this guy saying this, like, after the fact? That's fucking sad, man. That is sad. And that is a giant, why would you want to play on that kind of bridge anyways? Look, there's nowhere to actually grab onto, so if someone just wanted to throw you off the side of it, they could do that very easily. Oh my gosh.
It was down
and he's walking towards them too.
The hill where Libby and Abby would be murdered. Prosecutors say the man on the bridge is responsible, and that man is Richard Allen. But Allen and his attorneys say prosecutors have it all wrong. They say Allen is innocent, and investigators did not follow the evidence that leads to somewhere else. A group of white nationalists who practice the ancient Nordic religion of Odinism. They also allege that 3 of the investigators on the case also believe this was a ritualistic killing, evidence that was concealed, suppressed, and not revealed to the judge. Tonight, we take a closer look at what those 3 investigators are saying and look at the evidence the defense says was hidden as we continue to investigate the Delphi murders.
I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. Our investigation continues tonight into the
And then just in case, as this is like copyright claimed, I'm going to put something over the screen to hopefully block out some of the imagery. Yeah, I can only assume that this man murdered them. I think it's interesting, though, that there was like a whole freaking weird story put behind it, that there was a cult that murdered them and everything, but this guy was just saying down the hill, walking. You don't just do that and walk towards them. So obviously this guy had some sort of weird intentions. Unless he meant like there are guys down the hill. I don't even know. This is a weird situation.
Delphi murders. So much information was released this week, and each night we're going through more and more of it. Tonight is going to be, I think, eye-opening and fascinating in looking at what the defense is alleging here. But let's start. I mean, Abby and Libby, these 2 young girls, best friends. Best friends. So understand that relationship, right? And go back in your minds when you're growing up and you've got your friends and you do things together.
Are you trying to get into the mindset that what it would be like to see your best friend murdered in front of you? I'd be absolutely disgusted. I'd be throwing up. I'd be crying my ass off. I'd be in tears. I'd be a complete mess if I had seen my best friend murdered in front of me or together along with me.
And I remember growing up taking hikes all the time, whether it was 2 of us or 8 of us. You know, we would just head out into the woods, you know, looking for that waterfall or wherever we were going to go. And we'd be gone for hours and hours. Our parents didn't worry. And then we came home, right? And that's what was happening that day and should have happened that day. But we know it was much worse. It was evil. I mean, this was also a bizarre crime scene where these 2 young girls were murdered. What you're looking at is a graphic depiction that we put together based upon the descriptions in these papers that have been filed by the defense. And when you look at the covered in sticks and the way the bodies appear to perhaps be positioned, at least that's the allegation by the defense, that it was some sort of ritualistic thing that was going on here. It's not normal. Whatever it was, it just didn't seem normal.
No, it doesn't seem normal. No.
Not that any murder is normal, right?
No. Most of them are all freaks of nature and just sickos. And for all we know, it could have been just one person who had that sort of mindset going. The person who may have had interest in the occult or something like that, or just maybe it. I don't really know. I gotta listen.
But there are murders where, okay, you find a body, and the body, you know, the person is killed, the person is murdered, and they leave the body there. Here, it appears something else was done in this case. And if what the defense has filed with the court is exactly what the evidence shows, then you're talking about really bizarre, where they're taking the clothes from one of these girls and putting it on the other girl, and the other girl's naked, and all of it is bizarre and evil at the same time.
It's evil, yeah.
Richard Allen, the accused in this case, is saying, not me, it's not me. This isn't a case of saying, well, you know, this happened.
But don't they all say that? Besides a certain few, some actually take credit for stuff like this, which is like, they will go with that they didn't do it the entire time, even knowing they did do it. John Wayne Gacy himself, Ted Bundy. I mean, I could just list off a bunch of people who will just say that they didn't do it, but clearly and obviously, yes, they were the ones who did it.
And things got out of control. No, it's not me. I didn't do it. Couldn't be any clearer in what they are saying here. He did not do it. And it's not even a case where they're saying, well, there's not enough evidence to prove that he did it. They're actually saying he didn't do it and there is someone else responsible for all of this. Not just saying I didn't do it. No, no. I couldn't have done it because they did it. Talking about this group of alleged white nationalists who follow Odinism, this ancient Nordic religion. And
sounds like he had that story made up, like a cover in case he got spotted or caught. There's a white nationalist group who celebrates Odinism, or the ancient religion of Odin, or whatever, and that's why their bodies were put in that position. Yeah, I don't know, man. It just seems like a silly little story just to cover up his own tracks. But the girls were smart enough to pull out their phones and record him.
that everything left at the crime scene was some sort of a sign. And even to this day, as he sits behind bars, the guards at the prison where he is also follow this religion. And if this is true, this is beyond anything I've ever seen or heard. Beyond. But that's what they're alleging here.
Okay, but let's just say if that was true, that the guards themselves were a part of this cult. These people who are apparently not even afraid to murder two teenagers. Why are they protecting this man if he is giving them away? If he's speaking about them?
They're also alleging that the investigators, the prosecution, has concealed some of this evidence when, getting a search warrant, not revealing everything, changing little facts here and there, holding on to things that would be exculpatory in nature and not releasing it until they have to release it to the defense. Now that I've seen a lot in many cases, allegations of that in many cases. At the end of the day, this is going to be a trial in front of a jury, and whether or not the evidence was given over in time or not in time, everyone will have an opportunity to put all of this in front of a jury, which is what I want to do here tonight, is put in front of you the things that we are finding out that are being alleged in these papers. And we're going to begin with something that could be by itself reasonable doubt in this case. We're talking about 3 investigators who were working this case, who were going in a completely different direction and believe that it was this ritualistic killing. It was not Richard Allen. 3 investigators. Take a look. This is from the defense memorandum. Retired Rushville Assistant Police Chief Todd Click, Detective Kevin Murphy, and Detective Greg Ferenczi were 3 of the law enforcement officers who worked on the DELPHI murder case, particularly focused on the Odinite angle as it intersected with suspects in Rushville, Indiana. After reading Richard Allen's probable cause affidavit, Click, remember, Assistant Police Chief Todd Click, became concerned that the information contained in Richard Allen's affidavit pointing the finger at Richard Allen was far less compelling than the totality of the information that Detective Ferenczi, Detective Murphy, and Officer Click had accumulated during the Rushville portion of the investigation. The information that Murphy, Ferenczi, and Click had gathered during their investigation connected men who practiced Odinism in or near Delphi with another group of men who lived in Rushville, and then connected both groups of men to the murders. This is pointing the finger at specific people, okay? Through the investigation of law enforcement, not the defense doing their own investigation. This is through the investigation of law enforcement. Click was concerned that for some reason the leadership of the investigative team had failed to share with Prosecutor McClelland the evidence gathered by Click, Ferenczi, and Murphy. Click's concerns led him to seek out a lawyer to assist him in the drafting of a letter. This letter was then sent to McClelland. This is big stuff, okay?
I'd say so, yeah. That's more than I was thinking it was going to be. And that's almost why I just didn't even pause it, because I couldn't even believe what I was hearing. So there are 3 investigators who apparently believe that this man had nothing to do with these murders, the Delphi murders, that there are in fact possibly a cult out there. Okay, but yeah, there's a lot here. That's a lot, man. I almost have to process that for a few minutes, but I want to go ahead and continue the video because I don't want to have to keep this on pause for too long. All right, let's go ahead and continue the video.
Let's bring in the heavy hitters joining us tonight in Indianapolis, Indiana. We go to them all the time on this story, have been doing it for years now. The hosts of the Murder Sheet podcast. Make sure you download the latest episode. Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee are with us. Great to see you both tonight. First, briefly though, because I want to get into the content here. Just your reaction to generally to all these things that came out in these 130 some odd pages, what the defense filed.
It's absolutely fascinating to see the defense lay out its case for the murders. And it's so disturbing to hear more about the homicides themselves and the crime scene. It's just heartbreaking to think about what those girls went through.
And these details that we're getting are really for the first time, right? I mean, you've been trying for years, but, you know, it is what it is. Things have been sealed. Things have not been revealed. So if we take them at their word in what they put in their memorandum, this is earth-shattering stuff.
Yeah, that there's a cult out there. This is pretty crazy. I honestly thought this was some sort of story made up by this guy, but it might actually have some sort of backbone to it, which is like, okay, then why? Because they showed video evidence of the guy being recorded, so why was he there then, right? Why was he around?
So let's start first with this Odinite angle and the fact that there are apparently these 3 investigators who thought they were putting things together.
Absolutely, yeah. This is very interesting to see some factions is sort of forming within law enforcement here. You have people, you know, obviously the official investigation is saying they believe Richard Allen does it, but these 3 investigators may have been sort of offshoots. And I think one thing that we're really curious to know is the allegation that law enforcement sort of wrongfully rejected this theory, is there any weight to that? Is that something where maybe they should have looked into it more? Or is this a situation where you had people become emotionally invested in their own theory and sort of didn't let it go, even if they weren't able to get to like probable cause?
That actually had crossed my mind. Maybe this is just something that maybe they're just trying to dive more into, and they're being very open about it, right? And maybe they don't have enough evidence here, but maybe they're just theorizing, and maybe this is making sense to them. Who knows? But I'm still kind of leaning more towards that this man did have something to do with it. I truly am, and I maybe like there is more to the case, and we're gonna go ahead and figure that out or whatnot. But I am still leaning more towards this man making that up as a way to kind of give himself a kind of a not really a fallout with what people are thinking of him, but in a sense, I guess that is what I'm trying to say, is that he's using that as an excuse to try to get away from everything. And I don't know, like a lot of questions are like entering my mind, even as I'm like sitting here looking at the guy's picture. It's like, he said that this cult killed these girls. So did they tell him that what the girls looked like when their bodies were found? Did they tell him that information? Was he is this something that just came out of nowhere? He just mentioned, I think it was a cult that did it. Like, I don't know. I do gotta know more about this before I can just start speaking. I can't help it sometimes.
So it kind of leads to a couple of different possibilities. It's sort of fascinating, but it kind of gives you a sense of like, there were a lot of directions that we probably haven't even heard about yet as far as the investigation.
So the concept of Odinism and this Odinite angle that the defense is talking about, before these papers were filed, did you hear rumors of that? Was there any indication that this could have been a ritualistic sacrifice?
Yes, there were all sorts of rumors behind the scenes and whispers behind the scenes that there was some sort of Odinistic angle or runes left at the crime scene. We've never been able to 100% confirm those, so we never reported those. And of course, in this case, it's been plagued by all sorts of rumors from the very beginning.
So, because you're out there, is there any
that's so heartbreaking
indication that Odinists are sacrificing people anywhere else? Or would this be
This is like the first time I've even heard of this even happening to anybody. Odinistic sacrificing. So I don't necessarily believe that it's happening all the time. Like, this is a very rare occurrence if this is like any sort of cult. Like, this is the first time I'm ever hearing about something like this. Most of the time when you hear about a cult sacrifice, you think of like, you know, the typical people always assume, you know, devil worship and things like that, like animalistic sacrifices for the devil. I've never heard of an Odinistic sacrifice, a ritual being done.
Only criminal homicide that has potentially, again, potentially, it's what the defense is saying, a connection to Odinism.
That is such a good question, because that's the first thing we always do. Like, is this crime like any other crimes? And I can't say that we've officially dived into that research project yet.
So that kind of goes to show that it's not necessarily something we hear about all the time. Because if it was, then we would know, right?
But we're trying very much to find potentially other Odinistic crimes, Odinistic murders of children specifically, and then also maybe other cults that, you know, maybe could be comparable, I guess. But I would say generally our perception is that this sort of ritualistic sacrificial murder, you know, is not necessarily a prevalent thing here in Indiana.
And, you know, the nature of it, I would think that if there was a murder like that, that it maybe would make the news and people would kind of know about it.
Exactly.
But, you know, some cases, I guess, a little more under the radar. Maybe things aren't released publicly. Like in this case, we didn't know. We had no idea that what the scene looked like. So let me put up something else from this defense memorandum. Not only did the prosecution withhold that letter, and they're talking again about the letter from Assistant Police Chief Todd Click, from the defense, but law enforcement also withheld several other exculpatory pieces of evidence, including an 85-page compilation of reports by Click prepared in 2019 and several videos containing statements that support the defense theory of Richard Allen's innocence. This 85-page report detailed the investigative work performed by Click, Forensi, Murphy, and others, including the FBI. Then I want to get to this. According to the summary of Click's investigation that he attached with his letter, the Behavioral Analysis Unit, BAU, of the FBI determined that the individual or individuals responsible for the homicides were involved in Nordic beliefs. What are your thoughts about all of that?
Yeah, it's interesting. My initial question would be, would the BAU back that up at this point? It's a little surprising to hear like the surety of the language there, that they confirmed that the people involved had Nordic beliefs, because I feel like you always have to put in the possibility of someone attempting to stage a scene and make it look like something it's not, right? So I don't know.
I was I was more along the lines of that. Maybe it was just something he did, so when they found the bodies, he would just say that it was a group of people who had those kind of beliefs. You know, they were into Odinism, and this is what they're doing. It's a cult, guys. And I thought that was like a cover-up for just going on a rampage and just you know, going off the deep end and just murdering a couple kids. That is what I felt like he was doing. It just feels like a cover-up story to me. But again, let's hear more of the stuff out. I'm not 100% sure, but if you had to ask me, that is where I'm kind of leaning in towards, is that this was all a cover-up story.
But it's fascinating, and it also throws in the FBI, which of course came into this case very early on, and then sort of has seemingly left it these days, so is not necessarily super involved anymore. So kind of also underscores that maybe there was some factionalism even between sort of local, state, and federal authorities.
So what questions has all of this now raised to you, now that you've gone through all of these pages and come across things that have been released for the very first time?
The big thing on my mind is these allegations that the defense made are incredibly serious. And so the question on my mind is there anything to these allegations? I am really interested in hearing how the prosecution responds to this. Did they, in fact, withhold exculpatory material from the defense? If so, that would be very, very serious. If
I agree.
have an explanation, I think we'd all like to hear it.
Are there other questions about Richard Allen that...
So it's pretty obvious that, yeah, they withheld some information that probably should have been presented. Either way, it's like defending the man or not defending the man. It should have been shown. It really should have. And I think because we need as much information about cases like this as humanly possible. I am kind of shocked to hear that. I don't really know what to make of it. The fact that the FBI was involved early on and then sort of kind of drifted apart and left, that's a bit weird to me. I don't know why they would do that unless they wanted people to talk about it. I mean, obviously people are going to talk about the FBI being involved for a little bit and then leaving. If you have any more information on that, please let me know in the comments section. I can see why a lot of you guys wanted me to check this out. Yeah, there's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of really, like, eyebrow-raising questions.
This raised for you, because part of this memo, there's, I think, several goals that they had in the way they laid it all out. And one big one that we talked about a little bit last night was that one person could not have done all of this. What are your thoughts about the way they describe all that and the scene where Abby and Libby were found?
I don't know how they were murdered, but I kind of disagree with that. That I think, yeah, one person could have killed those two girls, yeah. Now, obviously, I can't say that for a fact it did happen, but it's possible.
Yeah, I thought the defense did a good job of kind of crafting this narrative. And I know for our listeners, we've already gotten a ton of emails about this and people sort of saying, wow, you know, it seems to have caught people's interest in a big way. And I would say, I think it's going to be a battle of the narratives. I think you're going to have the prosecution saying, this is an ordinary guy, and then he does this, and it was heinous, and, you know, why doesn't necessarily matter. Sometimes people just go out and do these things. And the defense is going to be crafting something about more of a wide-ranging conspiracy involving Odinists who have infiltrated prison and also, you know, were involved in these child murders. And so you're going to have the sort of ordinary versus the extraordinary. And it's going to be interesting to see which one carries the day with the jury, because we've interviewed people who knew Richard Allen and who, you know, grew up with him, and by all accounts, he was a very normal guy. So,
unfortunately, I feel like this is the same story for almost any serial killer. The normal guy would never have expected him to do this. I feel like I've heard that story so many times to where it, to me, even being a nice person doesn't even automatically mean that, you know, you're not unassociated with, you know, or you are not capable of doing some of the things that these people are capable of doing. It's scary. It really is.
So there's not really that kind of salacious aspect that you have in sort of an Odinistic cult. So I just sort of think we're sort of seeing the sides form right now.
Now, all of us who've been following the story and covering the story, there's a series now of I wouldn't call them suspects, but people who, okay, are they connected? Are they connected? Including the Anthony Shots social media stuff. How does what we learned here, how does it change, alter, or perhaps supplement, you know, everything else that we've learned?
I think one thing it does is it shows that these investigators never had blinders on. They looked at a wide variety of leads and they pursued them to the best of their abilities. They had officers trying to run down this Odinist stuff. They had officers trying to run down Anthony Shots. They had officers trying to run down Chadwell and some of the other suspects over the years.
I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, you got to give him that at least. Like, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that this man probably was the one responsible. But, man, even then, all of these deputies and all these investigators actually went out of their way to try to find more answers, which is pretty cool. Because that's not all the time. Sometimes they'll just point the finger and say that's the person who did it, and that's just the way it is. But the real killer could still be out there, for all we know, right? So at least, you know, I do take a little bit of a satisfaction in hearing that some investigators actually went out of their way to try to find more answers in case there were more answers out there. I appreciate that.
And ultimately, they ended up, the only person they could make a probable cause case against was Richard Allen. And so they arrested him.
And you know what's fascinating about this story, and why I think it's going to be a difficult case for prosecutors, is I speak to people who have been there, have done, like you, and who have done podcasts and things, and people tell me, and I always ask them, well, you know, I'm not going to ask them on the air, but I'll ask them sometimes, well, who do you think did it? And you get different answers from different people who have studied all this. I've never seen anything like this, where, you know, people who are, you know, really involved in it can look at this and say, oh, no, it's this person. Oh, no, it's this person. But I don't know if anyone's convinced that any of them, I don't think they're convinced beyond a reasonable doubt on any of them. And then Richard Allen is the one who, like, came out of nowhere.
In many ways, he's the most boring suspect.
What a great description. Kevin, like, I didn't, this guy, there's nothing to it. There's no computer searches. There's just a bullet.
Yeah, you look at some of the other suspects, they have a history of violence. They have histories of child sexual abuse materials. This guy just was a regular working Joe who every day went to work at the CVS at the pharmacy, didn't cause any trouble at all. So, as Anya says, he's the dullest of the suspects, probably.
Unbelievable developments. Anya Kane, Kevin Greenlee, folks, listen to it after my show, right? You can download it now, but listen after the show, the Murder Sheet podcast, and I hope you guys will come back because we're going to do this again tomorrow night. So hopefully we'll be able to track you down again tomorrow. Thank you so much. All right, folks, we've got.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now the video evidence. Now they said that was him, right? That was him walking towards them, like he was walking straight, and then he slowly starts walking towards them, and that to me was already suspicious as hell. And if that was him on the bridge walking towards them, then yeah, I would be very much lenient on him being the one, and they end up dead afterwards. I'd be very much aiming towards him being the murderer.
All right, there's part of this Delphi case that has always confused me, and I never really understood it. Right, that's a video, and that's what they've been telling us. This is the killer. This is a video of the killer taken by Libby. Okay, amazing that she did this, but that's the killer. Despite the fact that we have video of the actual killer, we also have sketches of the alleged suspects in this case. Let's put it up on the screen. February 2017, this was a witness description to the sketch artist of a man on the Monon High Bridge. And this is, again, February 2017, the month that it happens. White, about 20 years old, brown curly hair with a medium build, okay? And that was the sketch artist put together. Now, in the papers, again, that the defense has filed, they write, the Unified Command.
Looks nothing
again,
like
this is the investigative agency running the whole thing. The Unified Command did not release the witness sketch to the public for over 2 years. Instead, they first released another witness's sketch called Sketch 1. The other sketch was illustrated by FBI sketch artist Plants from Detroit on June 19th, 2017, and released to the public July 17th, 2017. Roughly 2 years later, in March of 2019, the witness met with Tony Liggett, frustrated that her sketch number 2, the one on the right of your screen, had not been released to the public.
Yeah, that's a bit fucked up. That's a bit weird. That's a bit sketchy. That they would just hide a sketch of the possible murderer. I mean, sketch 1 really looks like the main guy. It really does. But sketch 2 looks like not who you expect. And maybe maybe there's more than one person. You never know.
Witness was frustrated because sketch number 1, which had been released almost 2 years before, did not match the man that she observed on the High Bridge. The witness even commented that sketch number 1, the one on the left side of your screen, is wrong. Now, March 2019, the witness description to law enforcement. The man on the Monon High Bridge, slender and youthful, boyish, in his 20s to 30s. His hair seemed poofy, no facial hair. You know, looks like a young Justin Timberlake, for goodness sakes. Now, also from this defense memorandum, on April 22nd, 2019, the Unified Command, the investigators, released the witness's sketch number 2 to the general public. In fact, upon its release,
This is bizarre. This is really bizarre because if she said it's wrong, and this is apparently the person that they thought they saw on the bridge, if the sketch number 1 is wrong, does that give this man more leeway on being innocent? Because there are 2 completely different people, right? I mean, a young guy and this older guy. 2 completely different people with brown curly hair.
Lieutenant Doug Carter commented that the man in sketch 2 was responsible for the murders. Also, at the time of the release of sketch 2, Doug Carter also stated that sketch 1 had now become secondary to the investigation. All of this totally confusing at the time, and I think even more confusing now.
Makes no fucking sense.
Because that sketch of the one who looks like Justin Timberlake doesn't look like Richard Allen and doesn't look like the guy in the video. What's going on here?
I don't know,
I need
man.
some help. Joining me in Orange County, California, the author of Forest for the Trees, a book about the Delphi murders. Investigative producer Chris Todd is with us. And in Jacksonville, Florida, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Koffendorfer. Great to have you both here. Chris, is this the strangest part of this whole investigation? I mean, there's a lot of strange parts, and we've learned much more now. But how do you make sense, or can you make sense, of the sketches, the descriptions, and what the defense is now alleging?
This is one of the strangest cases I've ever been involved in, for sure. And a lot of people have worked on this, a lot of podcasters, journalists, Leos, and a lot of people in Delphi in this community know the work that I've done and the people I've worked with. And these sketches.
Look at them. Such a completely... The chins are not even the same. The mouths aren't the same. The noses aren't the same. The eyes, the forehead, the hair... The age, the chin, like the jawline, it makes no sense. That if this young guy is still out there, he completely just got away with murder. So it wasn't confirmed that the man on the bridge was Allen? Richard Allen is his name, right? Yeah. So, but the first one looks just like the man on the bridge.
Sketches, they don't look anything alike.
No, they don't.
They don't resemble, actually, BG at all. And
when you say BG, you mean Bridge Guy, right? Bridge Guy in the video?
Yeah, Bridge Guy. Everybody calls him BG. And I've already said who Bridge Guy is, and I will stick to that. And I don't believe Richard Allen is Bridge Guy, and I don't believe he ever will be. So
you... Oh, wait! That's a very interesting image right there. So this is the man who committed the murders, right? No, he doesn't look like Richard, does he? Okay, this is not a hat. This is brown curly hair, isn't it? I completely misread this whole case. No, that doesn't look like Richard. I mean, maybe more of the same size as him. Guys, I apologize. Now that I actually see a clear image of this individual on the bridge, my mind just kind of got blown. Like, now that I'm looking at it clear on with it, like by its, it's paused right now, I can kind of compare.
These two sketches look nothing alike. They're from two different or multiple witnesses actually gave differing, just like the trail witnesses said someone was in all black or they're in all blue. This case is a circus. I'm just going to say that. And I do have some bombshell information for you today, Vinny, if we get to it.
Oh, if it's a bombshell, we'll get to it. But we'll have to wait. That way people keep watching. That's the way we do it, Chris, here on television. All right. Jennifer Koffendorfer, your thoughts about the way these sketches were handled and released? Like, why do you get a sketch in February and then not release it for 2 years and then tell us this is the one? I don't understand that. Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's very deceitful.
Well, I think the important thing is understanding really how these sketches came about. The first sketch was actually taken not only from witness accounts, but also from really the video of Bridge Guy as best that they could ascertain what he looked like. And that was released. And if you look at that sketch...
And you're talking about the one all the way to the left now? Are you talking about the one all the way to the left of the screen?
Yes, the first sketch.
Well, we got to... I don't want to call it first and second, because I think the boy one was the first one done, but the second one released. So when you say first sketch released or first sketch...
It's really tough to... It's really hard to make out what he's wearing. Now it could be a hat. Okay, I'm not going to even... I can't even fucking... Like, it's really tough to, like, really kind of make out what he is wearing. Like, obviously, I think I see a blue coat, a brown shirt maybe underneath it, brown shirt or like a plaid shirt, and jeans on, navy blue, it looks like jacket. But that head, it looks like it could be a mix between both the young guy and the old guy, honestly. And this could be either a hat or blue curly hair, brown curly hair.
Sketched.
Apologies. The first sketch release, not the boy.
Okay,
not
gotcha.
the Timberlake.
Gotcha.
All right. So if you look at that sketch, it ended up resembling the FBI subject in this matter, who was Ron Logan. There was a whole affidavit written about him and the fact that they believed he was the prime suspect in the case. If you look at the second sketch, which was released late, but as you said, made earlier from a witness statement, that came about almost 2 years after, as you pointed out. Why did it come about? The FBI at that point had removed themselves from the investigation. There were issues between two different ideologies in terms of who was the suspect, and so they released this new one looking for new leads.
Now, I was a prosecutor. This is like oozing of reasonable doubt. I'm not saying that they arrested the wrong guy. I don't know who did it. I wasn't there, obviously, right? We got to see and hear all the evidence.
But yeah, if the wrong guy got arrested, that is such a fucked up thing. I mean, imagine that. And it doesn't have to be for just this case in general, but like any other case. If this man is truly innocent, he's going to be spending the rest of his fucking life in prison for not even doing anything. That's so dark.
In court, but I know the way trials go. And once they start putting these different sketches, and they do like we did, and they put the sketch next to Richard Allen, and then none of it makes sense. None of this makes sense to me. So what do you think, Chris, about the eyewitnesses? Who do the eyewitnesses help in this case, or are the eyewitnesses, does their testimony conflict with one another to an extent that these descriptions become meaningless?
I mean, I'm looking at this Frank's motion a little bit, right? The Sons of Odin and all these.
Like he does kind of look like a mix between both of them. I'm not gonna lie, though his facial hair is a little bit longer than the guy in the video evidence. Like now that I'm looking at it, he doesn't really look like the guy in the video evidence. And now that I'm looking at the sketch of the first picture and him next to each other, their eyes are too far apart. Like it doesn't even really look like him all too much. Holy shit, this is weird.
I think that's where we're at this second. There's many witnesses. There were a lot of people on the trail that day, a lot. And other names keep coming up.
Yeah, let's not mention any of them. We're not.
No,
I'm just letting the folks at home know that we're not mentioning names purposely. I tell them every night because there are names that the defense is naming, but we specifically are just not doing it until there's more information out there. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is this Frank's motion is where the case is at today. This is the most important thing. The defense is creating this scenario of other people looking at other people, this ritualistic pagan ceremony, and this has been going on since day one with Tony Klein, Kegan Klein. These names, everyone said these names. I'm saying is, so today this case is moving at 1,000 miles an hour. This is bombshell information, and I understand what the defense is doing, but I'm just going to say this to you right now, okay? The runes, this writing in blood on the tree, I'm not buying any of it. And I have multiple sources that you know too. I have a lot of people on the inside on this investigation. I'm not buying any of it.
That's fascinating. Now, Jennifer, what we talked about in the second block is that the defense is alleging that the FBI BAU, Behavioral Unit, said this was consistent with some sort of Nordic ritual. Like, how did they come to that determination? Are you buying it?
Well, the Behavioral Analysis Unit with the FBI, they have a huge data bank of cases that would have been similar. Now, remember, this wasn't the first Odinist type murder. There were 6 cases of crimes, I should say, where the individuals were Odinists. And the most famous one occurred in 2011 in Norway, which was a horrible mass murder in a school. And so in any event, they are going to take some of those markers, if you will, and look and do some comparative analysis. So BAU is actually quite good at this. I had numerous cases when I was in the Bureau that I sent to them, and I said, these are the clues I have. Can you give me some clue as to what kind of person I'm looking for in terms of age, in terms of race? anything they could give me. And I can tell you, in 3 of those instances, I remember them so clearly, they were spot on. So I'm not saying they're spot on here. I haven't seen the report they wrote, but I'm saying they are good at what they do.
All right, Chris Todd, in all your investigating of this, did you ever come across this Odinism? Was that something that you heard of? Is that something that you investigated in the area?
I heard about, and the murder sheet's right, these rumors were coming out right away. Within the first year or two, there were rumors of these runes. I get writing from fans or audience members and sleuths. They keep driving this to me. The sticks were in a certain way, and this is Odin, and this is Germanic. And I'm like, you know, and look, I can't say too much of how I know about crime scene photos, autopsies, photos of the bodies. I can't say too much about that. I'm just saying I understand what's going on, and this happens in a lot of other cases. I'm just calling it hogwash. And I challenge anyone, show me the photos of this rune and blood and these sticks. Show me.
All right, our guests are staying with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about some more alleged conflicting witnesses.
Okay. Certainly a lot to really just kind of process right here. My mind has kind of went blurry after just really being able to compare the photos, and I've still been on that. I don't know what to think at the moment, and I'm not sure what you guys think either. Richard Allen might not even be the murderer, and that might not have been actually him confirmed on the bridge. They call him Bridge Guy. They don't call him Richard Allen. They call him Bridge Guy. Nobody actually can 100% give me a guarantee that that is the man on the bridge. Richard Allen's the man on the bridge. Which is kind of scary, because that would mean that there's another guy out there who possibly got away with murder.
Witness statements, what does it all mean? This case is getting more complicated.
I've worked hard all my life. I've gone from being a local reporter to becoming a law student to then even going on to teach other lawyers, all before I came to Court TV. As a journalist, lawyer, and teacher, I learned the secret to success is speaking in your authentic voice. And I bring that lesson to my show, Opening Statements, every morning on Court TV.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central. Only on Court TV.
Richard Allen, you child murderer! Why did you do it? Shame on you! Shame on you, Richard! You're going to prison for the rest of your life! Shame on you, Richard!
Richard Allen, that's the man accused of the Delphi murders, and
that's so. And look, people will always say what's on their mind, especially if someone's being accused. And look, it could still be him. I don't know. But if you're giving me all this information that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I don't really know what to think. That's where I was in the beginning of this video, was I think it was him, and I think he made all that shit up just to kind of, cover up his whole story and just cover himself up, making it look like that it was actually a group of people who did it and not him. But now that I see the photos next to each other, and then I'm looking back on that video evidence, the guy in the video doesn't even look like he has a goatee, like the beard. How long was it after when they arrested him? How long after? If anybody can give me that information.
investigators, prosecutors say he did it by himself. The defense, with this huge memorandum that they filed saying no way, and one person couldn't have done it, by the way. That's what they're saying. With us tonight, Chris Todd, investigative.
I won't say that. I do not think that. I do think that's, yes, one person alone, yes, could probably have done the stuff that happened. But, that's why, theories start getting made up and stuff. But it could have been.
Producer and Jennifer Koperdorfer, former FBI special agent. Chris, my DMs and my thing just blowing up during the commercial break. So let's do it. You got a bombshell for us tonight. What is it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I believe that when on Libby's footage, her phone footage, it's a lot longer than we've been told it is. And I believe that when we hear guys and then down the hill, those are not the same person.
Why do you believe that?
Can't really say too much, but I can guarantee you tomorrow I'm going to have a few people very angry at me.
Wow. That now gives that now we're talking about 2 people. So
I have way more than that, but if I say this other stuff, it'll light the town on fire.
okay.
Holy shit. Well, that's a big bombshell. Someone send me that video footage. Someone send me that. I actually had said something earlier. Maybe when he said guys down the hill, he was referring to other people down the hill. That is bizarre, and I'm beginning to kind of believe this man on saying that he does have he's gonna have a lot of people pissed off at him. You see, this is why I like to listen to videos before I speak, because sometimes you don't know what I don't know what I'm saying, especially when I don't have the full story. I'm beginning to get more of the full story, and I'm beginning to kind of I use this term a lot when talking about true crime, rabbit hole. It feels like a rabbit hole of like, this thing is just getting deeper and deeper and deeper of like, what the actual F am I even listening to at this point?
Okay, let me ask you this. If it's not the same person, are you saying there's more than one person at the scene and attacking?
There is more than one killer, absolutely.
Jennifer Koffendorfer, is there any way to tell from the, and I mean, the level of that recording is not the greatest. It's not terrible. It's not the greatest. Any way to attempt to match the voice to someone?
So in these cases, there definitely is a unit at the FBI that can compare and do voice analysis. The problem is they will not be able to say 100% sure that these are the same voices. So the problem is there's never going to be an exact answer. And back to the question, though, about whether there was more than one person, I'm reminded of the prosecutor who, when it was being discussed about sealing the information, actually said that there was more than one person, and so we need to seal because we're still investigating. So I just find that was interesting when he said those words.
So let's take one more listen, because everybody at home wants to hear the voice one more time. So we're going to play it for you 3 times in a row. Let's take a listen.
It doesn't really look like his lips are moving when that's being said. Maybe there's somebody. It sounds closer than that, though. Like that, like this guy's still maybe a decent distance away from them, but this sounds like it's like right next to them, guys down the hill. And then this guy starts walking towards them. So maybe they were lured out to the woods to do this walk, or maybe there was a guy next to them, and then they led the 2 girls down the hill, and that's when all of them jumped them.
Now, again, we are the ones who put the video with the audio, because this is the video that was released that did not have the audio on it. The audio is separate. So what Chris is saying today now is that the man that is walking there is not the voice that we hear. Chris, another.
Let me clarify. Let me clarify.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. No, BG is saying down the hill. The person saying guys is not on camera. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Guys actually comes after down the hill. It's out of order.
What?
Mm-hmm.
So what you're saying is that this audio was edited,
spliced,
rearranged, and then
and
released.
I'm not blaming law enforcement. It might be a smart tactic. I'm going to stick up for them right here. Because remember, we only first heard down the hill. We didn't hear guys. That came out of nowhere later on. They never explained why were they releasing the word guy.
Why would they tamper with that, though? That makes no fucking sense why they would tamper with the audio.
So I believe that down the hill comes first, and that phone stays on, and Libby did an amazing job. What a courageous little girl, okay? And it carries further.
No kidding, yeah.
Someone says guys and gives a command to do something, and I won't say what it is.
Very.
of being creeped out and actually pulling out a phone and recording the person that's coming towards you. That's true. That's courage right there. Because, yeah, most people would not have done that. They would have been probably running at this point or walking the opposite direction.
Possible, because we have not heard the whole thing. Jennifer Kopfendorfer is with. First of all, let me ask you this, Chris. Is it your belief that it's very obvious when you look at the complete thing that it's two different people?
I always believed early on from sources that came to me and investigators, and even we had Leo whistleblowers and stuff. And a lot of normal people believed it would be really hard for one person,
right?
Especially.
But what I'm asking you, Chris, is the voice that we hear from that recording. When you see the whole recording, is it obvious in the context of that it's two different voices?
It wasn't to me until I was basically schooled, and I can't say how. And then it woke me up, and this case has changed every day. I was shocked more than anyone, and then I went on my own research. I do believe guys is said by a different person. I know who says down the hill. I know who says down the hill. I don't know who says guys.
All right, Jennifer Kopfendorfer, to me this is exactly bombshell, right? How significant is all this to the investigation? And would there be any reason?
I'd say, yeah, the possibility of another man being there when this was going down and them, tampering with the audio and stuff. Yeah, that's a big bombshell for sure. That is something I would never have expected. Even me, like, just sitting here listening to that audio just by itself, I thought it was the same voice. It sounded clear as day like the same voice.
Release the audio the way investigators did.
Well, in terms of that information, if that is in fact accurate, yes, it's very significant because if they are saying, and I'm not sure how they would know, because again, as I mentioned, voice identification is not a precise science, but it seems that there are some sources that apparently are saying there are two different voices. If that's true, of course it is quite a bombshell, because law enforcement now has turned to saying it is just Richard Allen and Richard Allen alone. But boy, after this 100-page, manuscript, so to speak, there was a lot to digest in all of that. And Vinny, it's certainly concerning because I do believe there was blood on the tree, and I have that on very good authority. But was it the murderer wiping his fingers like this?
Right.
To get blood off the fingers, and it made it F. In terms of the stick configuration, was it just happened to be how it fell? We knew it looked like a rune. I mean, that was always my understanding. But you can't discount that it's just sort of how those sticks might have piled up. But the prosecution, at the end of the day, Vinny, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do regarding the sticks and that blood.
Trust me. All right, Chris, one other thing I just want to follow up on that we were going to spend a little more time on, but the muddy and bloody description by a witness. In the affidavit that the prosecution put out there, they said that someone was seen wearing a blue-colored jacket, blue jeans, and was muddy and bloody. The defense says the witness never said bloody. What are your thoughts? Was this person muddy and bloody, just muddy? And what is that? How significant is all of that?
I don't know if I believe this witness at all. Dealing with, I know a lot of people.
The guy looked shocked when he said that. Just pretty much, I don't know if I believe this witness. But, you could probably mistake blood for mud, right? If it's, depending on the time of day and how dark it is. I mean, I don't know. When did this take place? What time of the day? I assume it'd be middle of the day because, it looked pretty bright outside in the video.
People on this case, everybody knows how deeply involved I am on this. I don't know if there ever was a person walking on North 300. They say it was a tan coat, it was a blue coat, it was a young guy. I mean, the killer's going to break the tree line and walk on the road in broad daylight, muddy and bloody.
A lot of this, okay.
Yeah, that makes no sense. You think he would just walk away muddy and bloody on a road back to his house after committing the murder. He does kind of seem like the witness doesn't really know who the what they're saying, right? It doesn't really sound like they are pretty credible.
We're out of time for tonight, but obviously there's a lot more to talk about. Chris Todd, Jennifer Coffindoffer, thank you both so much. Really do appreciate it.
Unbelievable. Dropped my keyboard right there. Holy smokes. At first, yeah, I was very much just saying that it was this the guy who murdered and made up the story. The more the video went on, and I seen the photos and everything, I'm like, I don't really know what to think anymore. And then, yeah, this witness coming up with all these different things, and then this guy dropping the bombshell. I mean, I really got to see, I really want to know if that footage of the full video was dropped. I really want to know about that. And yeah, the audio being tampered with. What the actual hell is going on with this case? I'm kind of speechless. I don't really know what to say. These two girls, may they rest in peace, of course. That is fucked up and horrible and sad and heartbreaking. Two guys, though. There might have been two guys. I'm kind of believing the guy named Chris. I kind of believe him. I mean, you wouldn't be saying that stuff unless you actually 100% knew for a fact what he was saying he had a lot of evidence for. So I kind of believe him when he was coming out and saying that stuff. Guys, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any more video recommendations, please leave your video recommendations down below. I would love to dive more into this and really figure out what else has come out, what else has been said. So until next time, guys, keep it retro. Do take care. A lot of love, a lot of support. All right.